I am very grateful for my cat that interrupted me a moment ago. So to continue, um, I'm going to focus on ungratefulness for a second. I feel like uh, ungratefulness or ingratefulness is the way we feel a lot of the time. So let me try to define this a little bit. I think, as I mentioned in connection to the Baldwin quote, ingratefulness is when we feel disconnected from the people around us. We mistrust them and we have a sense of otherness. So they're different from us. We're not connected to them. Also, it's a disconnection from nature. Also, it's a disconnection from this present moment. It's a sense that we don't want to be here at this moment. It's an aversion to this second. So this is, I think, ingratefulness, and this is the realm of anger. So if you think of gratefulness, gratefulness is just to say thank you to a person, or even to say thank you to the world. Like, thank you. I feel grateful for being here. So what this does, I feel like there's something almost magical that happens when you say thank you. It starts to melt down these divisions, the divisions that I'm talking about, like with ungratefulness. So the disconnection with people, the disconnection with nature, the disconnection with the present moment. So what thank you does, I think, is it starts to blur these lines. It starts to disconnect. It starts to connect us with these things that we're actually connected with in reality. And it feels terrible to reject these things. I think that's why this particular realm of ungratefulness feels bad. So to say thank you is to connect with all these things that we are connected with anyway, which are the people around us, with nature, and with this present moment. So it's a kind of acceptance. So I'm describing basically the way that I feel on any particular afternoon, but also it's a way of connecting through poetry. I think poetry is able to create this cathartic moment as well. So let me just say one or two things and then give you an example of a poem that I love, which describes this. So, first of all, what are the limits of generosity? We have to ask ourselves, are there limits to it? And are people capable of rehabilitation? Like, do we want to thank people who have done really terrible things? Um, I mean, there's a lot of institutions around us which can bring us down. There's a lot of people who can bring us down. There's a lot of situations they seem full of anger. So, in a way, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of fools are we if we walk around saying thank you? You know? So, I feel like there's we have to use our discretion, and we can't just be fools walking around saying thank you to everybody. The world is quite cruel at times, and we have to kind of pick our battles. Like, there are times when it's necessary to be a little bit hard. So, I mean, for example, good things like humility and kindness, there are times when humility can be a kind of cage, where people will tell you to be humble, and it's not the right time to be humble. We can't walk around necessarily like Gandhi all the time, being humble constantly. But then being humble, I think most of us would agree, being humble uh, as often as possible is a good thing. Also, some people will tell you to know your place, you know, and that kindness isn't always. Do we want to be? If somebody is telling you to know your place and to limit yourself and to make yourself small, do you want to be kind to those people? Maybe not. Maybe it's not always the right time to be kind. And some people will tell you to smile more. Smile. You should smile more. And maybe you don't feel like smiling at those people at that moment. So I'm saying there's limits to the generosity which we express. And we have to pick our battles. This is a hard and cruel world. We're not pretending that it's not. But just I'm saying, as often as possible, entering this generous space is a way of dissolving the connection, the disconnectedness that we feel with the world around us, which feels good and it feels cathartic. Yeah? Okay, so let me give you an example of a poem. This is a really old and famous poem by a Sufi poet named Rumi. So if you'll turn to I think it's your page 2, it's called The Guest House. And I love it because it connects us as humans and just talks about us as humans. And kind of, you'll notice as you read this poem, the divisions between the different types of humans, and the angry humans and the good humans and the bad humans, they kind of all dissolve. And it makes us feel like we're all in the same boat, which I feel like is an aspect of thankfulness. When we say thank you, the divisions between us dissolve. And I think Rumi knew this. So The Guest House, I'll read this aloud. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So let me give you now a prompt to write a poem, and then I'll give you time to write that poem. So you notice in this poem by Rumi, he talks about all the dark things that come in, the dark thought, the shame, the malice. He says, don't kick them out, but let them in. Like allow them a little bit of space. We should know that they're there. So what he's saying is, don't create divisions between you and the world. You won't die if you let the bad things in. Even the crowd of sorrows, you have to let all of them in. Okay. So this prompt that I want to give you now, keeping this last poem by Rumi in mind, I want you first, for the first minute or so, make a list of all the things you're grateful for. So this could be your grandmother, it could be your house, it could be your phone, it could be your teacher, it could be your health, it could be anything at all. So make a list and make it long and don't think about it very much. And then, very quickly, I want you to pick one of these and then focus on it. I want you to brainstorm for maybe 5 minutes and just write and write and write about all the ways that you're thankful for it. And if you can capture any of the voice that Rumi uses about being human and remembering that other people are human and perhaps sharing in the joy of this thing you're thankful for, then that would be marvelous. And don't worry if it sounds like a poem. You can go back to this later and turn it into something. But what we're doing now is just feeling thankful and trying to see if the walls between us and the things around us dissolve a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to come back after you've done that you've written from that prompt, a little poem. Okay, see you in a minute.